Hey guys, it's the Boondoggle Man. This is part 2 of the combo stitches from my tin. To get started, let's take a look at a couple of the ones I've done using something besides boondoggle, beads. This example shows a stitch project where I've used circle stitch in conjunction with beads. And if you follow the spiral, it continually goes in the same direction. Now this is a regular circle stitch, so there are only 4 strands. Each bead is sitting inside of a loose circle stitch. There are no strands running through the middle of any of these beads. So how do they stay in place? How do they not fall out? Well, the trick is that you create a loose circle stitch that you can stick the bead inside of. And it's the next circle stitch that really counts, because when you make the next circle, you pull that stitch incredibly tight. And that takes the 4 strands and makes them surround those beads, almost as if they were in a cage. This is a zipper pull using beads. Well, here's a project you saw me do before. This is a seamless bracelet, and it's using the stitch of square. And if you take a look up here, you can see where they combined. See how it's a little bit fatter up here? If I turn it on its side, you can actually see where one of those strands came out, and I cut it with the scissors. You see that? Seamless bracelet. Take that, mix it with some beads, and you get an even cooler looking project. Here's that same bracelet using some holographic boondoggle and some beads. Just something to add to the unique look and feel. And right here you can see where I combine the two. Again, this is square stitch. Well, I'm a pretty big guy, so I wanted to make a bracelet that would fit me. So that's where I came up with the next one. This is another seamless bracelet. It's rather large, but it fits me. It uses the brick stitch with the same purple and holographic boondoggle. I made it for a special event at summer camp called Olympic Day, where at the end of the day, the kids can win either the silver or the gold ribbon. That's why I chose to put gold and silver speckled beads inside of the brick. Now, brick is actually 6 strands, and if you take a look at this project, you can only see 4. 2 on this side, 2 on this side. So when I created this project, there are 2 strands that go through the center of each bead to help keep it in place. You see that? They're not really in a cage, but at the same time, that bead is not going to come out of the bracelet. So this is a brick seamless bracelet with beads. Alright, let's switch gears again. This is a cool one. I call it the chain link. This one's called ice because I chose to do it with nothing but see-through transparent boondoggle. Now this is actually created using circle stitch. So we have to start with a super brick to give us 8 strands that we can split to create the links. Each time it combines, it's another super brick stitch. Pretty wild. Now let me show you another one. It doesn't look quite as cool, but it's easier to see what I did. This is a chain link created with square stitch. it's really neat to see how the links line up. You see that? And I said on my site that this right here is the secret stitch. How do you get it to spin 90 degrees so that you could create the next link? Well, as I said back on the ice, it starts off as super brick that you can split off into 2 squares. Now, super brick has a strand that comes out this way and a strand that comes out this way and 3 strands that run across that long strand. To make the turn, you're going to take the center of those 3 strands and make them your long strand, like these. So what that's going to mean is you're going to take the center strand, make your first 2 loops, and then you're going to pretend that those outside side strands are actually coming out this way. You're actually going to bend them around this way, go over and under. Then take the regular long one over and under. The other outside one, turn it over and under. That's what creates the turn. Alright, let's go wild and crazy for a minute. Look at this guy. What is it? I have no idea. It was an experiment. I had to give it a name because the kids are always asking about, what is it? What is it? Well, I know the colors aren't right, but the shape seems right. So I decided to call this one Pineapple. It's rather large. Somebody said, what's the biggest boondoggle you had ever made? And I hadn't really thought about it. So that's where this one came out. It's kind of like a tornado with many extra strands. If I remember correctly, I think it's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see that? Yellow and purple, blue and yellow, purple and blue, yellow and blue, something like that. I mean, it was rather large. These strands, no lie, were 30 feet long. I probably could have made it 2 to 3 times as long as this little guy. He's about 2 inches long. I just gave up. It was tough. That's why many of the other ones in my tin seem to be made up of these colors, the leftovers from this project. Alright, here's one I've heard a lot of requests for. It's called the zig-zag. If you've been listening to what I was saying in these videos, you ought to be able to figure out what I did. I love this zigzag because I chose to use that transparent color in addition to my 3 colors. The transparent was on the outside. It was the long strand. That's what makes this zigzag seem to come alive. Here's another zigzag in purple and yellow. Do you remember how I did it? You start a stitch up here. In this case it's corkscrew, 3 circle stitches side by side. You do some corkscrew for a while, and then right when you're ready to switch directions, you do 1 square stitch. In this case it's 1 super brick stitch. Then as you start going back to the circle, it switches direction. That's the zigzag. Remember the rocket that I showed you on my site? Well, here are 2 more. There's a little rocket. Isn't as big as my other one. Starts with square, works its way all the way up to wall, splits off into 2 twist stitches, and tassels for the flames. Now the rockets I had done had all been square stitches. So then I decided, what would happen if I started to do one using some circle type stitches. And that's where this guy came from. It starts with circle, it becomes a twist, which becomes a corkscrew, and then a couple of super corkscrews leading out to solid wall at the end. This guy I decided not to do engines because this part here shows the curve. Kind of neat. Almost as if this thing spins as it flies through outer space. And the last one I want to show you, another neat one. It's a braid, literally, just like girls do in their hair. I started with a wall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colors, 12 strands. Get a little bit of wall started, and then you can take those 12 strands, split them up into 4. So 3 groups of 4. And then you do a whole lot of circle stitch. When I did it, I actually had 3 circle stitches coming straight out. When I got down to where I thought was going to be the end, just like you do with a girl's hair, you braid them back and forth, back and forth. And then when you get down to the end, you create another super brick that helps tie it all in place. This one I call the braid. And that'll finish off the second video. One more video will finish showing off the highlights of my tin. See you soon. Bye-bye.